This show is brought to you by our sponsors, easternshorebroadcasting.com, for all live stream. Hello, and good evening, good morning, whatever, wherever you might be. Welcome to World of Live Streaming with those vMix guys. I think that's what we've settled on finally, that we're going to call ourselves. It's great to have you along. Thank you for coming and watching us. If you're watching us on YouTube, remember to come over to the chat room. And Jon, if you wouldn't mind bringing us back to the multi-view, the link to the chat room is there at the top of the screen. So I'd like to say hello to the assembled masses here this evening. Just for the sake of ease, I think we'll start at the top left with Merle. Good evening, Merle.
Good evening, everyone. It's wonderful to be here.
And Dave.
Well, good day, everyone, and welcome from sunny Southern California. As you can see behind me, the poppies are in full bloom, and the Poppy Festival in the local area here, Lancaster, Palmdale area, is getting ready to kick off on April 22nd and 23rd. So if you happen to be in our neighborhood at that time, why don't you stop by and take a quick look at the beautiful poppies and enjoy the music and the festivities. So welcome.
That looks like a fantastic festival. And Tommy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome, and glad you could join us. Now, if he has his poppy field, we have storms here, so we don't know if we're going to last or not. But we're glad you're here. Come and see us, and thank you.
Yeah, let's hope the old thunder and lightning doesn't put anybody off the air this evening. That would be annoying for them, definitely. Let's go and say hello to Rudy next then. Good evening, Rudy.
Good evening, everyone, from one very happy vMix client.
And do you want to tell us why you're happy, just for those who don't know? We're all envious, of course.
Well, I'm following quite some live streams. One of them is the weekly show from PTZ Optics on Friday, and they gave away the most expensive vMix professional. And you had to be on the chat room to win it. And what happened? The first person wasn't there, the second person wasn't there. And then the third one was Rudy Engels from Belgium. Everyone seems to be happy. Only one person wasn't too happy with it. But yeah, sorry, Tommy.
I'm not
well,
talking
congratulations, Rudy. Congratulations, Rudy. Very well deserved, I would say. And before we introduce our special guest, Jon. Whoops, no audio on. We've had a few technical difficulties tonight.
Yeah, and I have a cat that is very happy to see his mom come home from work very late. So he's making a lot of noise, so I keep muting myself here. But it's good to see you all. I'm glad that we actually managed to get everything up and running despite all these strange issues we've been having this evening. I hope that it will continue to work. Crossing my fingers. So
I'm sure it'll be alright.
And I'm glad to see both Rudy and Dan this evening. It's going to be a great show.
Fantastic. And so without further ado, of course, we must introduce our special guest, Dan Sider from X-Keys. Good evening, Dan. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Well, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity. Greetings from rainy Michigan. Our storms are not quite as bad as some of the others out there, but anyway, it's good to be here.
Well, it looks as though it's nice and dry in your studio anyway, and that's you don't do
That's true.
don't want to be out in that stuff, do you? It's all right to look at it out of the window, but nice warm office. That's where you want to be with vMix and X keys, and then you're all sorted out. So let's have a chat about PI engineering and X keys. I gather you started around sort of 1999. Tell us about how your company came about and where you've come to now.
Yeah, PI Engineering was founded in 1993 with a product called the Y-Mouse. If you can remember the pre-USB days, we had something called the serial port on the computer, and it was very difficult, if not impossible, to connect two pointing devices to the same PC. So the founders came up with a way of wiring in two different pointing devices. Y-Mouse was born. That got the company off the ground. In 1999, we launched the X Keys line of products. They were originally designed for CAD users to, put tools at your fingertips. Since then, they have found uses in constantly amazed by the uses people come up with for them. But they'll control anything on the computer, so anything you can do with a computer, we can get an X Keys involved.
Indeed, and I think you've got a PTZ optics camera connected with your X keys right now. Is that right?
That's right, and I have through vMix, I have the PTZ options loaded in here. Let me see if I can zoom in. Oh, that's too close. Let me get back out. So I can pan, tilt, move myself around, get myself back.
And
where
that just
I want
makes
to
it
be.
so easy. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
and
just so
of
easy,
course
isn't it?
vMix lets you assign a position, so I could have different positions programmed on my X keys and just hit the button right to that spot.
Okay. Well, I've been having a look at one of your devices, the XK24, which is one of the X Keys devices that's very popular with vMix users. And I made a little video sequence about it, so if you'd like to sit back for 5 minutes, I'll play that out. Jan, could we go full screen, please? This is the X Keys model XK24. First impressions of the XK24 are good. It looks professional and the full travel keys have a nice action. The unit is supplied with a pair of detachable feet extenders, which enable the unit to be configured to fit on a flat surface or gently sloping, with either the long or the short edge being raised. It is a well-made and robust feeling unit, suitable for professional use both in fixed and portable installations, especially as it's USB powered. The keys are easy to label and come in two parts. There is a top clear plastic lens key cover, which may be removed on its own, or you can remove the complete key with the supplied tool. The unit is supplied with a sheet of standard label symbols which simply insert into the keycap and is then sandwiched between the base of the key and the key top. Reinstalling the key on the device requires alignment with the key post and then simply press it into place. Labeling the keys takes but a few minutes. 3 double width keys are also included in the package and are easy to fit to the device. A variety of other options are available for your X Keys controller. These include printed squares, which you can produce yourself using the free-to-download MacroWorks software, or you can order pre-cut legends from your supplier. Acrylic printed ABS moulded keys are available in 7 different colours, offering a professional finish. Keycaps are also available in 2x1 and 2x2 sizes. All the keys have blue and red LEDs under them and can be individually set to steady or blinking in a choice of red, blue or magenta colours. Setting up vMix to respond to the keys is also a simple process. You can see here that I have set up keys 1 to 8 which switch the inputs to preview. I have used the scissors icon to represent cut, and when pressed, the current preview and program are swapped. Notice also that the blue LED light behind the number 2 button has now illuminated to indicate that input 2 is now in program. Let's see how to set up our new play button to play the current entry in the playlist, which is on input number 8. Simply go to settings in the top right of the main vMix window, select shortcuts from the list on the left, click add, press find, and then press the key you wish to set up on the controller. Now select function and choose input from the panel on the left, and then find play in the list of functions. If you prefer, you can use play pause to toggle play and pause with one key. Next, select the input that you want to play, in this case input number 8, which contains our playlist. We need to give the shortcut a title so it can be picked out of the list if modification is required in the future. The title also shows up in the web controller. Now simply click OK and the shortcut is defined. Creating an activator is a similar process. Select Settings and then Activators. We recommend that you create a default activator which turns all the lights off before adding any individual activators. Having done this, adding a new activator is simply a case of clicking Add, press Find, press the button on your X Keys device that you wish to illuminate, select an event, which in this case is input playing, choose which input we want to monitor, in this case number 8, choose X Keys for the type, then select the colour you wish to illuminate the key. I'm going to choose blue blinking. Click OK to complete the process, and then go and try out your key. As can be seen here, the key blinks blue while input 8 is playing, but as soon as it comes to an end, the light is extinguished. I've also created shortcuts for the previous and next buttons. Here you can see that pressing the buttons allows you to select a video or audio track from the playlist. Adding the final touches, I decided to create default entries for the 4 keys that I've added, so that they illuminate red while inactive. As soon as I press play, this changes to blue blinking as you can see here, and then returns to red when I press the end button, which is set to pause the input. Okay, so there it was, the X Keys XK24. And if you're interested in the wider range of products available, if you're based here in the UK, you can go to x-keys-uk.com, I believe that's correct, Dan. And there's a selection of products available on here. Excellent. Just having a look through here, there's a very wide range of devices you do here, Dan. I mean, these keyboards are absolutely amazing. With the variety of things, I'm seeing joysticks and T-bars and plenty more, I think.
Yeah, we've been at it for a while.
I think you said to me earlier on that you started off with the foot pedals, and I'm just looking here at the foot pedals product page. These are very useful if you've got your hands busy and you can press a pedal under the table to get something to happen. And I believe you've launched a line of buttons as well recently to put on the desk.
That's correct. We have what we call a switch
Excellent.
interface, which will take any contact closure and then Martin's integrated it so you can basically have any type of switch trigger something in vMix.
Yes. Oh, here we go. The page is loaded now. We can see examples of these kind of things with these yellow and blue buttons, trigger switches there. A really wide range of products indeed. Now, as I said, if you're in the UK, x-keys-uk.com. Is this also the same one for Europe, Dan?
Yes, anywhere in Europe, that would be the preferred reseller.
Okay, and in the US, we've got Tom Sinclair, of course, at easternshorebroadcasting.com. He also is a stockist of your devices, is that right?
That's right. Tom Sinclair would be an excellent source of X keys in the US.
Fantastic, fantastic. So, switching back over to me. Let's see if anybody's got any questions. Is there anything else you wanted to add, actually, Dan, before we move on to questions? Any little bits of information I may have missed that people might like to know?
You know, I thought you did a very nice job of covering the basics for the X keys. You didn't really leave me anything to add, Giles.
So much appreciated. Well, we've got a bunch of people here who I'm sure will like to ask some questions, and of course we have people in the chat room. In fact, Mike L has already posed a question. What about Canada? Where can people get X keys in Canada?
You can get X keys directly from us at xkeys.com. We do have some products on Amazon in Canada. And B&H Photo is also a source, and Amazon US is a source as well.
Excellent. Okay, so does anybody else have any questions they'd like to put to Dan about these products?
Yeah, this is Dave. I have a question. So, Dan, we got the NAB show coming up in Las Vegas here pretty soon. You guys going to be in Las Vegas? Are you going to be showing off products there?
Yes, we will, Dave. We're happy to say we'll be at NAB. We've been there every year for about the last 10 years.
Where will you be located?
We're in the South Lower Hall. Give me a second here and I'll pull up our booth number. Maybe. And I'll have to get back to you on that. We're in South Lower Hall.
No problem.
Okay, no.
As you come down the steps. Oh dear, I've lost my audio. Sorry.
We can hear you.
Still
There we
hear
go.
you.
Yeah, as you know where the steps are in South Lower Hall, as you come down the steps from Tier 1 to Tier 2, and that's the same hall where vMix and PTZ Optics also have booths.
Excellent. I was just looking through your products, and there's one here for chain fans. I see you have a chain controller. Does this control all the chain simulators? Because presumably you can reprogram it.
Oh, it's best with the UK. What is it? Train Sim. I'm trying to remember the name of it, Giles. I believe it's Train Simulator 2017. It's made from Dovetail Games there in the UK. It does work with some of the older versions of Trains and some other softwares, but
yeah,
that's
so
a kind of a sister
train simulation
company that we set up. Yeah.
Right. Oh, it's interesting with books. You know, I mean, having these remote controls is really good because so when I first started using vMix, I didn't have any kind of external controllers at all. I was doing everything with the keyboard and mouse. And when you're trying to do a live program, particularly when you're presenting it and producing it. There's an awful lot to think about if you can't just easily get to something, and if you've got to flick through the various tabs to find the right input before you can play it out or do anything like that, that all takes time, and it's very easy to just trip yourself up. But with the X keys controller, I can simply program a button on here, press play, and out it goes, and it's just one and it really makes life so much easier. I mean, if you've not got a keyboard device like this, I really, really can't recommend them enough. It just transforms the ease of production. I have to ask
we
you,
were very
Dan, whether you've... Go
Sorry
on,
for
please,
talking
go ahead.
over you with a delay, but we were very fortunate that Martin decided to integrate all the X keys into vMix. In most applications, it takes a bit of programming on the X keys to set up a hotkey or some other kind of macro to trigger an action. The fact that Martin decided to take us on and support all of our products and make it so easy to control everything in vMix has been just a wonderful surprise and a bonus for us.
Well, he's certainly chosen the right device. It's very robust, as I was saying in the little video earlier. You certainly wouldn't, think twice about taking it out on the road with you or something. It's not all going to fall apart, or legends aren't going to fall off the keys because they're nicely in the caps. Tommy, go for it.
I have a question, please. What about X keys? Is there anything you can talk about that may be coming? Ray guns, some type of thing like that?
We are working on one that's kind of a familiar format for we see used for slow motion replay that has both a jog and shuttle control in it and a T-bar fader type control. So that's the next big thing in this broadcast world. We're also working on some of our switches and some things like that, but that's the big one.
We're looking for deep, dark
Excellent.
secrets, though, Dan.
Sorry, you
Was,
broke
was
up on
that
me.
your secret?
Don't mind Tommy.
Oh, I said we're
Oh, you wanna
looking
know
for
the
deep,
secrets?
dark secrets. But is that as far as you can go on those?
Oh yeah, the secret product we're working on
Okay.
is Fish Driver. Companion rail driver for fishing. That's the secret project. I don't think it'll ever happen, but that's why it's so secret.
Excellent. Apparently, you're according to Kenny. Thank you, Kenny, for looking this up. You're in NAB, or your NA booth is SL7425. So there you go for anybody looking for X keys. Have you got any giveaways or anything going
Thanks,
on
Kenny.
your stall? On your booth.
We haven't discussed that yet. We may do something. After I give away the X keys to all these people here on the show that you're talking to, I don't know if I'll have any left, but I know
Well, they're
Rudy's going to want
deserving
next week.
course, so that's they're a deserving course, so that's okay. Yeah.
Dan,
I can't get to an AD either, unfortunately. So.
Kenny H. has got a question on here. It says, can multiple X keys users work simultaneously in vMix for various tasks? I'm not smart enough to know what that
Superb
means. I
question.
hope you do.
I believe so. That's all I'm going to say. I believe it. Testing would be the only way to be sure, but I believe so.
Yeah, you'd need to be able to change the unit number, wouldn't you? I'm not sure. In my tinkering so far, I've not found out whether you could do that or not. But the MacroWorks software.
We do have a unit ID that can be set. So if you're using identical units, you can change the unit ID, and I think Martin recognizes that. But certainly you could use
think
models
we,
on the same setup, and he can see all of that.
Right, yeah. Rudy, you wanted to make a point.
Yes, if I'm not wrong, I've already seen two people do it. I think both of the units were programmed exactly the same. So every button had the same operation. And then they could, via a small program that took over, it was, I think with USB over Ethernet, something like that took over each other X keys.
I'm not aware of that one, Rudy. That would be really interesting to see. I do, now that we're talking about it, I did have a case submitted to me just this morning from Phonics. I don't know if you know of that company in the UK, but her setup, she was using two of our XK60s on vMix at the same time, so I know Martin must be looking at them as different units.
Right. Paul asks, do the X keys work on Mac and PC?
Yes, they do. We have a controller mate software for Mac. Now with vMix, I know I've seen some guys talking about using vMix on a Mac. I don't have an answer there. Just something we haven't tested. But certainly there's no reason why OS X will see an X keys and will relay our data to our program is ready and willing to look for it.
I think if you run vMix on a Mac, you have to boot it into Windows anyway, so I would imagine the X keys on that situation would work okay. But like you say, it's a standard USB device, so there's no reason why it shouldn't work for other applications on the Mac as well.
With the worst case scenario with that, you could always program keystrokes into the X keys, and it's possible keys memory, and then it just looks like a USB keyboard. So that there is a possibility, a way to get around that if vMix on a Mac doesn't recognize it. I think Merle had a question.
Well, actually, a comment with Giles's bit of audio there. I think there may have been another unit sold. I think, quite honestly, I hadn't been paying enough attention to the X keys, and I believe for a small production like I have here in the home, I may have to have one of those that Giles was just previously showing. So, well done.
Thanks, Giles.
Ring ching. That's what it was like. Marvellous, marvellous. Yeah, no, I would highly recommend this to anybody. They really are, like I say, they're solid, and it's unusual. You get stuff these days can be really quite poorly made, and this isn't. This is good. I'm very, very much like this thing. It's first time I've actually
Merle, I
seen
could
one
offer
in
one
real
to
life.
Tom Sinclair over on Streaming Idiots as a giveaway, but then Rudy would win it, so I guess what's the point?
Yeah, and that's Tom Willis, so then we'd have all kinds of problems.
Have you come across any particularly unusual use cases for X keys?
Oh, all kinds of them. One of the odder uses I have was there's a company here in the States whose business is to study traffic flow. It's called Counting Cars. And someone is watching video of an intersection and accounting for every car that comes in from each direction, and whether it's a car or a truck or a bicycle or a pedestrian, and which way they come from and which way they go. And so they were able to lay out one of our X keys to basically trigger each one of those situations and make it much easier for the operator to select what he saw rather than having to use a mouse and click through everything. So that was one of the more unusual ones. Another one that was kind of fun was The Simpsons, in that live episode they did where Homer Simpson was answering live questions at the end of the show. There was actually an X keys triggering his movements while that happened.
Wow, that's good. I like that. That's an interesting
cool.
use, and certainly it's very cool, isn't it, Jon?
Yeah, I liked it.
Dan,
Go, Jon.
how is when you program macro functions into the keyboard? Understanding that those settings are stored within the keyboard, right?
Well, Jan, we have a couple ways of doing it. With vMix, you don't need to program anything into the X keys because Martin is watching our data report and talking back to it and taking complete control over it. Outside of that, as I said, with another piece of software which doesn't have an integration, you can program keystrokes or key combinations and actually write them into the X keys memory. And then the X keys will send them into the PC, the same as a USB keyboard. So that's just another bit of flexibility we have with our hardware.
But is it then
And
possible to assign some buttons for use in vMix while using other buttons on the same device for things outside vMix?
Yes, entirely. Oh, I think I made another sale.
I have to save up first. You know, Giles and I are located, and Rudy, we're in Europe, so we have to pay hefty penalties, even with your UK distributor.
Yes.
Unfortunately, but yeah.
Or come to NAB and stick it in your suitcase for the trip home.
I was wondering about that. Unfortunately, NAB is more expensive. Getting there at least.
That sounded like an invitation to pinch them off the booth. Which I'm sure it's not your intention, Dan. Very excellent.
Not exactly.
No, indeed.
So, Dan, are you actually going to be at NAB yourself?
Yes, Dave, I will be there with some other reps from the company.
Well, I'll
We're
drop
also
by and see.
providing a
I'm gonna
couple
stop
demo
in.
units. So we're also providing a
I'll
couple
be
of
in
demo
there for a
units for
day,
the
a
vMix
day
guys.
trip. Okay.
Oh, good. I look forward to seeing you in person.
Okay, you too.
Yes, you can
Giles,
wave
we
the
need to
word
figure out a
posting banner while
stopwatch
you're there.
on this setup so that people aren't talking
Yeah,
over
the,
each other.
The lag is varying a bit tonight, isn't it? And it's you can see
Yeah.
Martin's done a fix for the lag catching up because everybody started sounding like a demented chipmunk or something like that when it dropped out before. But it's very noticeable tonight how it is catching up very quickly. We have got, due to whatever congestion on the internet, we do have a bit of a delay on it tonight, and it's longer than normal actually. I just I like Rudy's.
You know, we're complaining about this, but you're looking at how many countries here are talking to each other almost instantaneous, and I'm still amazed by all of this. Even with the
technology is
lag,
incredible.
what it used to be.
Yeah, I think
Yes,
even
I
with
mean, I
the
can
lag,
remember
it's
5 or 10
still something
seconds.
that we have to be... Even with the lag, it's still something that we have to be quite happy with, really.
It'll get better. It'll get better. So, well, thank you very much, Dan. I think we've answered a lot of questions there this evening. Will you stick around with us just for a few more minutes while we have a chat about some other things? And if anybody does have any more questions, maybe they can post them in the chat room. Is that okay with you?
I'd be happy to.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to talk to us about products. They're excellent products, highly recommended. And well, Dan's going to be here to talk to for a few more minutes if you do want to pose any more questions. Now, you will notice at the beginning of the show today, we were called World of Live Streaming instead of This and That, or TNT. And that's because I discovered that there's another show on the internet called TNT, and there's another show called This and That. So we've been talking about changing the name of this program a bit because when we first started it, we weren't really sure what we were going to talk about. That's why it was called This and That. It was just meant to be as vague as possible and just give us the opportunity to explore vMix and all the things that go with it, and YouTube and the internet generally. And we've settled into talking about live streaming more than anything. And so we had a poll on our Facebook group, and that was the chosen title. So the show is going to be taking a slight change of course from the way we have been doing it. We've been very just spontaneous, totally ripped, and generally just well, turning the camera on and see what happens sort of thing with our earlier shows. But we are actually going to move to a more structured format for our main show. It may well be a shorter program, but then it will be followed by a free-for-all, as it were, afterwards in the post-show. So we're hoping to keep the blend, but at the same time offer something that's a bit more organised than what we have done before. So that's our first sort of item of news for this program. Now, Rudy, I was talking to you earlier on, and you were talking to us about the cycle race in Flanders over last weekend, and you got some interesting stories from that, I understand. Over to you, Rudy.
Yes. Well, certainly the people in Europe are going to know it. One of the most famous races throughout the year is the Tour of Flanders. And what happened was that 2 days before the big event, one of the journalists of our national television, he did a full 260 kilometers. And our national television decided to do a test and to live stream this 260 kilometers during almost 11 hours. They called it slow television. Not everyone was convinced that there was any interest of it. The figures are not already published, but it seems that quite a lot of people watched 10 hours or 11 hours of television. And there was always 2 or 3 journalists in a small studio, and never the cyclists were passing a monument or a small village. You got the small stories, and it was very low going on, and it created quite a buzz on social media also. But what was most striking was, although it was done very professional, with a helicopter, with professional cameras, the police was involved. I've read that everything was streamed on 4G, and apparently our national television is going to do further tests, and bit by bit you're going to see more programs that are lasting for hours. I've also read that in Norway they were the first one to do it. You can, for instance, a train ride during 2 or 3 hours, and people who are interested are watching. But this, of course, was during weeks they created already a buzz for the Tour of Flanders, But I watched it the full 10 hours, and it was very nice to hear all the small stories. All other cyclists were enjoying the Belgian reporter. It was a very nice experiment, and I'm very interested how the Belgian television is now going to cope with it.
That's very interesting, isn't it? Broadcasters are actually taking an interest now in live streaming technology. That's probably going to make quite a difference to the live streaming industry, I would imagine, if the broadcasters start to take more interest in that. I wonder why they call it slow television rather than just live streaming. Did they sort of give any reason?
No, probably. No, I think probably of the duration, and when you're watching the live broadcast, yeah, all those sports reporters are talking like that, and now that's going on, and now that's going on, and now during live stream it was more like, okay, now we're in this village, and yeah, what happened 10 years ago was the following thing. And yeah, there was one famous Dutch reporter who is now, and the comparison he made was, this is the complete opposite of Twitter. Instead of 140 characters, you have the big story now, and I'm really enjoying it. And that, yeah, in fact, that told everything. I don't know how. It would be interesting to see how it was, how the younger people, how they thought about it. Because I'm 52 now. Maybe the elderly people were more into it. I don't know. That's going to be interesting. I'm going to write to the national casting company. Try to find out if they have figures in differences in ages, or because that's of course is interesting.
Fascinating. Dave, were you?
Yeah, I was just wanted to comment on what Rudy was just talking about with the slow TV. I stumbled across some of this stuff doing some internet searches, and I found these train trips he was talking about, where it's like people traveling from one end of a country to another on these trains. Now, what they had done with some of us, they had kind of done a little bit of a time-lapse thing, so you would see the change of the seasons. So you would see it in the summer, and then they would roll a section of it, roll it back again through the same thing in the middle of the winter when there was snow, but it would also include the fall, so you could see it building up. But it was that same concept. And so my wife and I were just sitting there, and I said, this is actually pretty relaxed, because I was trying to figure why somebody would do that. I get, doing the fireplace stuff for Christmas time or something like that, but this was it was a different feel, and you were seeing the countryside in I believe it was somewhere in Scandinavia. Can't remember exactly, but there's a lot of use for a lot of different things. I mean, whatever people like to do, if you can video it, people will watch it, I guess.
Yeah, Mike L. It just made us aware of something else that went on in Canada. I won't pronounce this right, but Stouffville pub sets world record for the longest streamed concert, yet the band is on. After more than a week, musicians at the Earl of Whitchurch get to play and now have their eyes on the record for the longest non-stop concert, and that's all being streamed.
I guess that's a way to prove that they're actually doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's there for anybody to check, isn't it? And anybody to see that you're there. Fantastic.
One thing I've been watching over the weekend is a thing about cruising on a cruise ship. This Charles Falk, who is in, I believe, Streaming Idiots. I don't know if he's in our group or not. But he went out on a cruise ship with a crew and they're film or recording everything that you would do on a cruise ship. They're live streaming when they're able, but it's very hard to stream from a ship. And so they're recording and live streaming. And to me, it was very interesting because they get behind the scenes pictures and show you cabins. For somebody that's even about a cruise, to me, that would be very interesting.
That does sound interesting, and I can imagine the challenges actually, because getting internet, well, it's probably quite an expensive affair, I can imagine. It's all, particularly if it's satellite based. So that's quite an undertaking, really, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we're going to slowly wind this up now. I've just been seeing in the chat room that Martin S is. Martin Steed, that is, unfortunately unable to join us this evening because he's got internet problems. So there'll be no guessing whether Martin's about or not. I'm afraid. But I just like to thank everybody.
Is that spoof or truth in itself?
Well, yeah, you never know, do you? This is the thing.
He really can connect, but he's acting like he can't.
Yeah, you could well be right. So
Giles, if you will, please pick on Martin for me, because I usually pick on his show. So if you will just sort of pass that along to him sometime when you get to talk to him.
Yeah, okay. We'll do that. Right. I'd just like to thank everybody very much for joining in the program this evening, and thank you very much for watching. Thank you to our special guest, Dan from XKeys PI Engineering. It's been really great fun. There will be a post show, so please do stick around if you'd like to join in the open forum general chit chat. If we go back to the multi-view just for a second, Jon, just give everybody a chance to say cheerio. Let's start with Dan, and then we'll work our way around from the top down. Thank you, Dan, once again. It's been great to have you on the show. Thank you for letting us have a play with your products and telling us about them this evening.
It was my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
The pleasure was all ours. Mo.
Yes, thanks, Dan, for being here with us. And it just proves that what you did today just proves that getting your product out there for people to see is very, very important, because it effect on me. It truly did. So come back and see us again sometime, and thanks a million. Everyone else, have a good afternoon, evening, and bye-bye.
Yeah, sure was a good show today, I think. And Dan, I really do want to thank you for coming on, showing us some stuff with the XKeys. And definitely look forward to seeing you at NAB in a week. So thanks for coming on, and thanks for everybody for tuning in.
I also want to thank you for coming on, and hopefully I'll stop having all these audio problems myself. But Dan, thank you, and I think you've got a great, and I wish you well, and sell a gazillion of them, some to Giles so he can send us one, and then maybe get him a good deal on some PTZ optics cameras, because we need one of those too. So thank you, Dan.
Also for me, a big thank you, Dan. And what's very interesting to see is that more and more products that were that we couldn't afford a few years ago are now affordable, and that's very nice. That helps a lot of live streamers to make their production a lot more professional. So thank you.
Yeah, and Dan, thank you as well from me for making these pro level products at a streaming idiot price level. After all, it does give us some new opportunities to do some fun and it's even great stuff. So it's wonderful. Thank you. And for the rest of you out there, thank you for joining and follow. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up on the live stream.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you, everybody. And yeah, I hope everything goes well. Dan on the X-Keys booth at NAB. We look forward to hearing how you got on with that. As John was just saying, if you like what we're doing, please tell everybody about it. We're most grateful, and thank you if you subscribe to our channel as well. Our channel subscriptions are going up, and it's really good to see. So once again, thank you for that. Apologise for the delays and things this evening. It's just been one of those things. We're all located all over the world. So anyway, if you're watching us live, stick around for the post show. We shall be right back.